everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jedi Way here on the Outlaw Nation. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, usually one half of the Jedi Way, joined by the other half of the Jedi Way, but don't adjust your set. Laura Kelly is not joining us today. She has some surgery going on, so we are very blessed and lucky to have 1/3 of the Resistance broadcast system and Star Wars News Net, the great Johnny Hoey. How are you, Johnny?
Oh wow, what an intro, dude! John, thanks for having me,
Like
Laura.
Star Wars Schmodown competitor,
Yeah.
well-heralded news-breaking Star Wars enthusiast. There's a lot I could have thrown in here for you, Johnny. You've
Oh
done so
man,
much.
well, coming from the goat of the Schmodown, so
Please.
that's like Babe Ruth giving you accolades as a minor as a AAA player or something. But it's Schmodown. I've had a blast doing that, but just getting to know you over the years has been a lot of fun, and we've always had this sort of connection with your days with Jedi Council and grabbing the stories from Star Wars Newsnet, and I'm glad we've had you on our show a couple of times, so I'm glad you had me on. But I want to say all the best to Laura. Hope all is well, and I'm glad to do my best to at least try to fill the seat here and chat some Star Wars, man. I got my light on. My wife got on Etsy. I'm ready to go, dude.
Well, let's deal with the reality of today, man. Although this is gonna drop a few days after we record this, but were you able to get into Star Wars Celebration? What was that experience like this morning? I unfortunately was not able to get a 4-day pass. They had sold out by the time I got in, so I had to buy them by day. And I am officially going. How did it go for the Resistance broadcast system people?
We got, so TRB crew got our tickets. So we got lucky enough where it's so funny because anytime I do those things, it makes me think of like when I would go online to get like concert tickets or whatever. I'm trying to get like Metallica tickets or whatever it was. So it's like, you see that little man walking across the thing. You're like, go, come on, come on. So my guy out of the three of us got to the finish line, and I was in pretty quick, so I was able to snag up tickets for us, and we booked our hotel a few weeks ago hoping we'd get tickets. So now it's just a matter of getting on the airplane and heading over. So we luckily got our tickets, so we're good to go. But it sounds like you managed to get your singles, so you're on your way too.
Yeah, I'm set up to go. I don't know if the Geek Buddy is going to go, and of course, as we both know, we've got to fight pretty hard to get one of those speaker passes, maybe that will offset the cost, so to speak. So if that can happen, then absolutely that'll be something that I'll just kind of put my single day tickets up for anybody to pick up. But that's certainly the mentality going forward. I've got the Lady Outlaw already looking at hotels because she's very particular about where we're going to stay, because she won't be coming with me to the stages. She's going to be off exploring London because she does not have the interest that I do in this kind of stuff. So it's going to work out for both of us, but she's got to be comfortable in the hotel room. You know how that is, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. So I usually leave that stuff up to my wife.
Exactly.
Because if it was up to me, wherever we go, whether it's in Newark, New Jersey or London, England, I'd be looking at Holiday Inn Expresses or something, or, so I'm like, she's smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. So by all means, whatever she does, she's like, "Oh, we booked this." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. You got it. You nailed it." So.
Tell me how much it is. I'll take care of it. Is continental breakfast included? I just want to know.
I know. Yeah.
But hey, we're going to jump into so many things going on in Star Wars here now. Post Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're having wrapped up recently. I wanted to talk about what we can look forward to, but also kind of revisit Kenobi for a little bit, and then look at what might be coming here in the next few months, and talk about where Star Wars is now post Kenobi, because this Obi-Wan Kenobi series was so anticipated. People had all their expectations, hopes. There were multiple articles. I'm sure you all wrote multiple articles, did multiple videos talking about what we were hoping to see, what we were expecting to see. I'm sure you all had tidbits and knowledge and insider information on some of the stuff we might have gotten. So we're going to talk about all of that here on the show. So that's where we're going to start at first, right off the bat. Johnny, we've had a few days now to kind of process and savor Obi-Wan Kenobi. I've got a plan in the next few days to watch it back to back, binge it the whole day.
Nice.
See what my reaction to it is overall. But what's your feeling now as we walk out of season 1 of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did they hit all the marks? Did they please you overall? Or do you walk away from it feeling like this was a good attempt, would have liked something more, but I'm excited for what's coming next?
Yeah, so it was funny. Early on, I had some criticisms that in the first couple episodes. So I do have to go back and revisit those now that I've seen everything to look at it from the grand lens of it all.
Yeah.
But I went into the series looking for just a few things, and like special effects and that sort of stuff wasn't one of them. So that stuff didn't bother me as much.
Right.
I was looking for, seeing Obi-Wan's story and seeing Ewan McGregor back with a different director. All respect to George Lucas, but he directed all 3 of those movies. He was surrounded by yes men. Some of the takes he chose back in the prequels, I was like, interesting. Ewan still did a great job in the prequels, but I felt like we saw something special from him in this series. So I got what I needed from him from an acting perspective. How they handled Darth Vader, I thought was well beyond my expectations.
Okay.
Everything down from what I believe was using James Earl Jones's voice, but through re-speecher.
Yeah.
Because in Rogue One, he sounded aged, which he should. He's 90,
Yeah,
right?
he sounded tired.
Yeah. So however they handled him with the 5-person team and the stuntmen, Hayden in the mask, that was incredible. They didn't dumb down Vader. I like that he handled Reva, all that stuff, and I thought Leia was done well. So all the little beats they did, I thought they did enough for me, and I don't think that they startled A New Hope. If anything, there's some things I could look at it, like when Ben is about to sacrifice himself and he closes his eyes, the last thing he sees is the twins together. That adds a little, there's a little more added to that now than there was prior. Or when Leia says, Ben Kenobi, he's here. So that is boosted up a little bit now. Beru and Owen, I thought were fantastic in the series. The only thing that didn't land for me was the end of Reva's story.
Okay.
Was a little confusing. I don't know about you, but her wanting to kill Luke as justice didn't make sense to me, because Vader didn't know that he had a kid who was alive. Right. And I don't know that he would have cared at this version of his life. So I don't know how you felt about the series, but I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with a lot of what you said. I loved what Ewan McGregor did. I mean, he was universally, by those of us who maybe didn't like the prequel trilogy that much, he certainly came out of it unscathed. I remember you mentioned Jedi Council a few minutes ago. One of the first appearances I made on Jedi Council was to pitch an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. And because of how well, you can find it, it's still up on YouTube somewhere, I think 2016, 2017. And I'm pitching it to Christian and Mark, telling them this is the movie people want to see. He is the one guy that came out of those prequel trilogies unscathed. And I know there are Hayden Christensen defenders now, but there weren't that many back then. So trust me, I'm older. I remember. And so it's great to see him kind of sinking into the role again and doing exactly what we were hoping to do. I wanted a little more grizzled Ben. I wanted a Ben that took some time to come around to the things that we came around to in the series. But in the end, Ewan McGregor made it all work. And I really enjoyed that. I agree with you on Hayden and what they did with Vader. Really enjoyed what they did with Vader. Getting to when we got to finally see Hayden under the helmet in that kind of reference or kind of homage to Rebels. It worked. It absolutely worked. And it was great to see. And you heard his voice. You heard the speech patterns of Hayden Christensen from 20 years ago come back in this performance. So I love that as well. And the Vivian Lyra Blair, I think that is the greatest curveball Star Wars maybe has ever thrown, because everyone was obsessed. How are they going to do this? Luke doesn't know Ben. How are they going to do all this? Oh, yeah, here's how we do it. We put Leia in it and replace Luke with Leia and have it be in a buddy cop movie, in essence, with those two going through all the things that they're going through.
Right.
And in the end, what you've done also is given more depth to Leia, given more, as you said, more connectability to A New Hope. And we discover a brand new actress who understands the role and understood the assignment and delivered a phenomenal performance as a young actress with Princess Leia. So it's quizzical that Kathleen Kennedy in the promotion of this said, well, we're not looking at recasting, but here we go with the recasting.
I know.
Of Leia, and it totally worked.
I know. And it's funny because throughout that whole series, I'm like, all right, so he's going to rescue Leia, drop her off. She won't remember too much.
Right.
She's in it again. She's in it till the end. I'm like, how the hell is she going to tell this message to him? And the way she addresses him in A New Hope is, General Kenobi, years ago, you served my father. She's talking to somebody she's never met before in that message. Right. But then at the end, they smartly have him tell her, Nobody can know this. You'll hurt yourself. We can be discovered.
Yeah.
So in a way, that message is Leia knows, but she's saying it in case it gets intercepted that she doesn't know this guy. And I'm like, they did it. Sons of bitches, they did it.
Yeah, and I think the Reva storyline, I think there's a legitimate criticism there to be delivered on the Reva storyline. Both the beginnings of it and then the whole leaving her alive thing. And then at the end, of course, I think you can find moments to not like about the overall storyline itself. And I think certainly Moses Ingram, whether direction or dialogue or just time, grew into the role as the series went along. And I really enjoyed her by the end in this role. But yeah, there were quizzical moments of like, why is she being left alive by Vader and the Grand Inquisitor? What was the point of the Grand Inquisitor? Because other than to drop certain quips or get into the crosshairs of Reva, and then why would she risk her moment on Vader that she's been waiting her whole life in that one moment rather than earlier when he's distracted by the ship? There's all kinds of questions you have here with Reva. So I think that's where they fumbled the ball a little bit overall in the connectable storyline, but she still comes out of it with a lot of fans and people wanting to see more from her, including our own Laura Kelly on the Jedi Way.
That's true. And I feel like sometimes people attach the actor to the character too much.
Yeah.
So to be clear, I thought performance-wise, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
The first trailer where she's screaming, you won't get away, Obi-Wan. I'm like, holy cow! Like, who is this person? I need to know who she is. So from minute one, I was like dialed in. I was like, yes, I like this. And her on the press tour, like so poised, standing up next to these two Star Wars icons, holding her own like that.
Yeah.
So everything about her. The only thing that sometimes I have an issue with especially the newer Star Wars storytelling is I think they have a bit of a villain problem where they're either always killing them too soon or they're redeeming them too much.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Reva needed to be full villain the whole time. I know the Stuart Beattie version, he sort of had her redeeming herself there too.
Yeah.
But I just would like to see another person that is evil so that when they are defeated, we feel that sense of justice in the galaxy or whatever. Like, there's a reason why they keep bringing back Vader and Palpatine. Once again, Palpatine has returned. It's like because they killed off Snoke. They didn't know what to do with that guy, and Ben Solo got redeemed. And it's like, I think they need more villains who are irredeemable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that needs to be Reva, but when I saw it again, I was like, man, it felt very cyclical. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think Thrawn may be on the way here to solve that problem in the Ahsoka series. So. Yeah, because there's certainly, and I agree with you. I think that's the truth. And sometimes that's where you get kind of in a bit of a quagmire about Star Wars, in that this constant need to redeem the villains. And because the main villain was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi. So it's kind of like, well, have we set the pattern that this is the way it's going to go? But in real life, there are just people who are villains. And so you've got to kind of have that as an element here. And I wonder when Disney is going to make that decision once and for all. I hope Thrawn is that. And look, if nothing else, Johnny, I think also as a business and as a studio, Vader is one of the biggest characters, regardless of franchise, ever. So the fact that he was a stone cold villain, yet you were able to make money off of him even before he was redeemed. I saw people with Star Wars shirts when I was a kid. Vader shirts when I was a kid before Return of the Jedi. He was such a badass. People can connect to that.
Right.
And so I think that's a possibility that they need to explore more. You're absolutely right. And maybe with these new properties and moving away from the Skywalker saga, we will do so, or they will do so for sure. Question for you. So before we leave the Reva situation, a lot of rumors about a spin-off series. Yes, maybe it wasn't 100% done well here in terms of the character development and build in this series, but would you want to see a season 2, or rather a spin-off series of Reva with Moses Ingram? And what is the story to tell here?
Right. It's, they gave her an arc where it's sort of like, does she ride off into the sunset and live a peaceful life, knowing that she made the right choice and didn't go down the path that Anakin did? So when she said, like, have I become him? Obi-Wan's like, no, you didn't. So there's a completion there. But there's rumors that well, obviously the original writer of the movie version that you apparently created, but he had said he felt she needed to die. And so I don't know if they changed it at the end with this series or what have you. But the fact they left it open, it allows them to explore her more. I don't know where she goes from this point. Obviously, it's not reverting back to the dark side, so she'd have to do something with either the rebellion or something else. I don't know what the story would be in terms of giving her her own series. I'd have to see it. I don't close my mind to things, so I would be open to understanding what that would be. I would like to maybe see her again. I just don't know. You have a supporting character. We're not sure what her story would be. Her arc seems complete in this. I would need to learn more to understand why we would need a Reva series, unless they do some sort of prequel to Kenobi, but then that would be maybe a little stale. So I'm not really sure. I don't know what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, Reva would be interesting to explore if you're going to have some more time with it. I mean, Roken is right there. He said he's not done.
Yeah.
So you could have where he says to her, I know a way you can be of service to the rebellion or whatever, or make up for some of the things you did in the past. This is my friend Roken. He's got a ship. Look him up, see if you want. And then you've got something really unusual, which is 2 black leads, a female and a male black leads of a Star Wars show. And it would be...
Get Enfys Nest in the mix too.
Yeah, hell yes. Get Enfys Nest be a part of this thing as well, and maybe even Lando showing up with an occasional guest spot there from Donald Glover. If we're ever going to see that show, we shall see. But yeah, there's possibilities here to explore, and certainly your boy Alden could come back maybe for one episode, or even Amelia if they're messing with Crimson Dawn. There's certainly possibilities here beyond just, hey, let's save these people, say one savior a week, or a mission a week. It could be something with a bigger story to tell here that follows a redemptive path for her. What's the journey you're on? Just now that you've been broken free of the Sith, okay, or this revenge. What is the next steps for you in your evolution as a human being?
Yeah, and I'm not sure where the rumor of the series stemmed from. I know sometimes, like, there's one point a couple of years ago where it was like 1 week where all these things were coming out that every character was getting a series, and we were like, we're not reporting that. I think it was around the time we broke that the Kenobi series was happening.
Oh yeah,
and people were like, oh okay, there's a Kenobi series. I'm like, no, that one's real. I swear that one's real. But like you can, the way they're telling Star Wars stories now, kind of like how you were saying, sort of like a potpourri. Like let's do a 12 episode thing where maybe we go here for a few episodes, go there for a few episodes. You can continue with Reva and not have it be, the Reva show.
Right.
So there's opportunities. Yeah. And like you said, like, can Solo come in for a couple episodes in the Lando series? That could work.
Right.
There's opportunities with Disney Plus to do everything and not make it all or nothing. Like, it has to be all of this person, all that person. So I would like to see that her explored if they have a story for it.
Right.
But who knows what they're going to do with her?
Yeah, it could be stories of the rebellion, right? Where you're just like kind of like, that's the overall title, and then you're seeing different people at different episodes. It doesn't have to necessarily be Reva in every episode. Could be her in a couple episodes. Could be Lando. Could be Han. Could be Enfys. It could be Roken. Could be any number of people. And
they sadly, could show up in Andor for all we know.
Right, exactly. Could be Andor. Sadly, not Tala though. So unfortunately,
no, I know. So how good was she? Holy cow, she was great. And I loved her in Game of Thrones too.
Yeah, Indira Varma, what a great British actress. It's a shame. I was so mad when they did that. I understood why, but it was so mad when they did that.
Yeah.
ScreenGeek.net is where I was looking up they're claiming their sources that there's a Reva spinoff series.
Gotcha.
And there's rumors of a second season for Obi-Wan, and that's coming as well from Making Star Wars. They're issuing the rumor that the second season of Obi-Wan might be on the horizon. We've just finished talking about Obi-Wan, the first season, kind of having our opinions and points of views. And certainly we could spend 3 to 4 hours talking about it. We don't have that time on the show. So talking about a season 2, though, do you want to see a season 2? And if there is a season 2, what would you want to see Kenobi explore?
Oh, man. It's so tough because I loved how they ended this with him, Qui-Gon finally feeling he was ready to train him on becoming one with the Force, because he finally dialed back in. It's like when Maverick re-engages in Top Gun, Obi-Wan re-engaged with the Force in this, and Qui-Gon's like, now it's time. So that was so perfect. And he's like, we have a long ride ahead. So they did leave it open where they can go explore that.
Talk to me, Qui-Gon. Talk to me, Qui-Gon.
Talk to me, Qui-Gon. He's got Qui-Gon's dog tags in his hand. But that was good. It's funny because Ewan McGregor is an executive producer on the series. He has a lot of pull, and he's being very vocal about I want to come back. There's plenty of stories to tell before I turn into Alec Guinness. So I think they're going to do it because I think, especially with what's going on with the movie side, which seems like they don't know what's going on with the movies right now.
No, it's all over.
And I've heard from people that it's just trouble on the feature film side. So I think when you have something that was mostly well received, I believe, and you have the actor who everyone loves, and he's the executive producer, and he wants to do it, and it just seems like a no-brainer that they're gonna find a story to do it. Maybe bring Yoda in. Maybe they go to Dagobah and they go through what Luke went through, but a different style of training. And they could, like James on our podcast brought up the fact that they could do what they did with Vader, bring Maul in here, have another battle between them in live action, then do the Rebels thing later. So that's an option. So I'll just say this to be short. I would definitely be into it. I would just, again, one of those things like, what are they going to do? I just don't want them to do the thing where they make the follow-up and it hurts the thing that they just created. Because they just wanted to stretch it out just to do it. Like if the reason is just to do it because you have Ewan McGregor, that's not enough. If they can make the compelling story, I'm going to be down, man.
Right. It's a good reference you make to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, destroying the thing that made it good. All right. Anyway, you're right. The quotes here. Ewan McGregor said, "I really hope we do another." He said that in GQ. Deborah Chow, on the other hand, though, said, "We really did conceive it to be a limited series. It really is one big story with a beginning, middle, and end." But then executive producer Kathleen Kennedy said, "I think if there's huge engagement and people really want more Obi-Wan, we'll certainly give that consideration." And speaking of huge engagement, this thing broke all kinds of records. The premiere did. It's the most watched Disney Plus show. So it seems to be that all the boxes are being checked here. That we're heading towards the possibility of a season 2. I would love to see Yoda. I'd love to see more with him. With Owen and Beru. I'd love to see a little bit more of that. I'd even want to see something where, because clearly they saved the best for last with Owen and Beru. I mean, nobody saw Bonnie Piesse being a badass coming. Nobody saw that coming. And when it happened, you're like, well, why didn't I get that for 6 episodes? I want to see more of that. So, there's a lot of things that were kind of teased here that I think it could be fun to explore in a season 2 of Kenobi. And just because you've finally kind of broken free, what's the next step? Like Reva, what's the next step? What are the adventures? How is he getting reconnected in the rebellion? What is he going to do now? We've had those comic book series where Luke found all those journals of Kenobi. There could be a lot of stories to tell.
Oh, right. I didn't even think about that it's just because they're continuing the Kenobi story doesn't mean they can't revisit Beru and Owen with Luke without Obi-Wan being around. That's a great point, man. They're going to figure out a way. They're going to do it. Right?
This is the stuff. So, and then speaking of I was talking about Owen and Beru. I mean, I'd love to see an Owen and Beru rebellion spy series, but with this idea of spin-off shows, what do you think? Hayden Christensen has said that he wants to come back and do a Vader series. People have been clamoring for a Vader series, brother, since he came out in 1977. People have been asking for it's like a Vader film, Vader solo trilogy, Vader series for decades. So do you think the door has opened now with the Hayden Christensen performance? And as we said, the way they portrayed Darth Vader in this series?
Yeah, and it's funny, there's always that snide comeback, which is they already made the Vader movies. It's called episodes 1 through 6. And it's like, I get that. But if you want to get evil Vader, which is what this is, once, he tells Obi-Wan, I'm not your failure. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did. And I'm going to destroy you. That Vader with a red light on his face. I think that's very intriguing. And the way they brought him back, like I said before, was it blew my mind, dude. Because in Rogue One, I was like, wow, they did a really good job with Vader in this. He did a really, really good job. In this series, I feel like it was 5 times better. His movements, The dialogue was very on point with Vader. It wasn't like jokey, like the choke on your aspirations thing. It was very in the pocket Vader. And what they did with James Earl Jones' voice, I can't wait for the gallery on this to find out how they did all this.
Yeah.
That alone makes it interesting. And Hayden too. It's hard not to root for that guy.
Yeah.
He's so good with fans. He's so humble. He's so Canadian. He's so nice. And he loves that he was able to come back and be embraced, and he loves and respects the character. So for all those reasons, if they're able to find something to tell us this story, and maybe have like they do in the comics, where Palpatine's just beating him over the head with manipulation to make sure he's still on his side. Right. If they can explore that in live action, which I think they can, I would be absolutely on board for it, because before Disney Plus, I was like, Vader movie, guaranteed $1 billion if they did it.
Right.
Do a series of Vader, whether it's a limited series or not, sure. And if you want to dunk him into Andor for an episode or bring him back somewhere else where it fits, let's do it. So I'm not of the ilk of too much Vader. I don't believe in that at all. He's the golden goose of Star Wars. He transcends Star Wars. Everywhere everyone goes, you see the shadow, they know exactly who that is.
Yeah.
I don't see how Disney would be like, Kathy, I don't know about that. So they're probably telling her, like, do it for Darth Vader series.
Yeah, figure this out.
So,
figure this out.
Right.
Chapek's got his new contract in his hand. They're running in there going, now figure this out. Give me my Vader series.
Yeah.
You're right, though, because the Imperial March, which is the Vader connection, you hear that at sporting events. You hear, it transcends. You're absolutely right. People know the Vader character. People know the shadow, as you said. People hear the breathing. They know the breathing, just like they know the Jaws theme song. They know exactly what that reference is.
Dude, every Yankee home game, when they do the visitor lineup, it's the Imperial March, man, and then right into the throne room for the Yankees. So
damn right it is. But yeah, all of that is there. But yeah, I would love to see something. Look, they did it in the comics, right? They found a way with the Darth Vader run to him still do some evil stuff, but also be challenged by the Emperor, who's bringing in possible other people that could take his place, or bringing in droids, or bringing in kind of half droids, half human or half species things to come and challenge him. And then Dr. Aphra as well. So that could be a way to do a soft rollout, or soft introduction of Dr. Aphra, put her in a Darth Vader series.
Sith artifacts.
All of that. It could humanize him while also, but not undercutting his villainy. Yeah.
Right. And if she'd be interested, it seems like she's not interested at all. Natalie Portman in a flashback or a dream or something could really, because then we absorbed all that, because not everyone reads the comics, we're going to be honest. Right. But if you get that in a physical, visual manifestation, you see him still having dreams about Padme that parallel the dreams he had before he turned, and then you go and watch the original trilogy, his redemption feels even more powerful.
That's a great point.
It could be. I would be all for it. I'm getting chills just thinking about it now, and you and I aren't writing this stuff, so I'm eager to see what they would be able to come up with. But just for Hayden alone, I support it. But now that we're talking about it, it gets me even more excited.
Well, certainly, and having seen Thor: Love and Thunder last night as we're taping this, and
how was that?
I can't review anything. I can't speak about it review-wise. I just put a reaction up that I enjoyed and had a good time watching this, and felt like it was a great return to the franchise for Natalie Portman. That's under the Disney banner, so maybe kind of making up things here on this side in this franchise. Let's open the door to making things up for you in this franchise and have you come back. And you're not going to be under Lucas. It's going to be different directors, different writers. Right. She said she's spoken very openly about the mental health stuff she suffered from all the reactions to this prequel trilogy at the time. And so, let's open that door and rebuild these bridges to Star Wars, because I think a lot of people would want to see Padme back, would want to see Amidala back. And so, right? I mean, people would go crazy for that.
Yeah, even if it's like a one scene thing, it could be such a heavy hitting impact where you get her on screen for a minute and it would change how people view Vader, how people view his tragedy, how people view Padme, the whole thing. So it would just be a matter of her just being like, all right. I
mean, look at the reaction to Qui-Gon finally showing up. People lost their damn minds. People lost their damn minds. So it's a possibility. Let's look at we mentioned Stuart Beattie here a couple of times. Let's mention that because he was, or let's look at this because he did an interview here speaking about a number of things with the direct about his points of views. He had written the Kenobi film. He had visualized it as a trilogy of films, and Ewan McGregor apparently had signed on. He had come up with the basic Reva storyline here with some adjustments and alterations here that they did in the show. It was different. She was essentially going to be like she was on the press tour, the person in between Kenobi and Vader,
right?
And then eventually
Good call.
sacrificing herself, for Kenobi to save him against Vader. So you hear these. Let's take that part of it first. When you're reading this, is there a bittersweet feeling that comes over you as a Star Wars fan, thinking about the possibility of a trilogy of Obi-Wan Kenobi films that were sacrificed here, supposedly because of Solo's performance? So let's deal with the first part of it, the bit of the trilogy, and then let's move on to the Solo aspect of it all, whether you think that's true or not. So what do you think about this when you hear these comments from Stuart Beattie about the trilogy?
Yeah, so there are parts of what he says, because I like when people who were involved with Star Wars get candid about this stuff.
Yeah,
because sometimes you feel like there's legacy NDAs where you can never talk about this, like the Kennedy assassination. Like, you're never going to be able to talk about this. It's like, come on, man, it's Star Wars, But
wait, you think there's a legacy NDA about the Kennedy assassination? I love it.
Oh yeah, Sinatra signed one. They all signed them. No, I don't know. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm going to come out of this episode looking like a conspiracy nut from that one line. No, but you know what I mean? Like they're very secretive. They're very, like, we had, rest in peace, J.W. Rinsler, from the famous, Making of Star Wars books.
Yeah.
He was working on a Making of the Force Awakens book, and Disney shut it down because they didn't want to shed any negative light on the production of the movie.
Wow.
So Disney's very protective of their brand. The Force Awakens was very well received, but that movie went through. Michael Arndt wrote his versions of it, and George Lucas had his stuff, and it was a little choppy at the beginning, just like a lot of movies are, I guess. But he was like, yeah, they didn't want me to do it, so we didn't do it. But so with that, like, knowledge in mind, I like seeing this guy come out and being like, here's the deal. Reva was my baby. I created her. I created that character fully. So I really, and it's got to be hard when you create something and hand it off,
Right. Imagine Filoni handing off Ahsoka.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And George Lucas still seems bitter today for letting go of his baby, and who wouldn't, so I don't blame anyone for that. But this guy coming out saying like, yeah, I thought she had to die because of her deeds, and I think he said, like, you can't redeem everyone. I think he even said that in his interview.
Yeah.
So he's feeling that a little bit too. And then also it's kind of like, if she doesn't get redeemed, like, where does she go in Rebels? How come we don't see her, the third sister, later? So it's a lot of that stuff. So some of it I was like, man, maybe Vader should have killed her, because how often do we see Vader just being like, all right, you're not worth enough to kill. Like, Vader was snapping villagers' heads on the same week, just to lure Obi-Wan out. He kills officers at a dime for looking at him wrong. Someone who was trying to kill him, Vader's going to kill that person.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
why leave them alive? It makes no logical sense.
So when he said, I felt like knowing Vader had to kill her, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to hang on to it and being like, oh, they should have done, the Trevorrow episode 9 or something. We got what we got. And that is the story. So, but I also, at the same time, nuance is still a thing. I still like what this guy had to say and how candid he was about what he was creating. And as far as the trilogy goes, I know he had outlines for it. It sounds like maybe they'll borrow from that if they continue this. So maybe we will get to see some of what else he had in mind.
Yeah, it seemed like that the trilogy he had in mind was what I wanted to see. Listen to Stuart Beattie's comments, and writers, directors, producers, they all have their point of view on it. Might embellish in certain things, but certainly the general things that he's saying, I absolutely would love to have seen. That we took our time through the Kenobi arcs. We took our time to have him kind of question things and wonder if it's worth it to get back in the fight. Mm-hmm. See him not step in and stop something and explore that within himself, and then boom, by the end of the first movie, you've got someone who's now kind of reconnected. Okay, good. Let's get into that second movie. What does it mean now? How is he going to make this happen? Who are the
Okay, yeah.
characters involved? And then the third movie, now what do we have with Reva and all of this going through all three of those movies, and Reva being the one that essentially gets schooled by Kenobi that it was actually Anakin who was the one that left her for dead. It was Anakin, not the Jedi Council, who screwed you over. It was Anakin. So the redemption makes much more sense.
I think so too.
Right? In the way Stuart laid it out than in the way they did it, in my opinion, in the series. It makes much more sense that she would hunt the council, because even Ahsoka Tano rather turned her back on the council when they offered her the chance to be a Jedi, because she saw there were issues with the council. And yet another woman sees issues with the council. I think there's something that could really have been explored here that had a lot more depth to it.
That's a great point.
A lot more grit to it. Yeah, and I think, I love Disney. I got no problems. I love Marvel, and love that they're in charge of Star Wars. But I think there is this proclivity to not go into the grittier places, and that kind of it frustrates me at times, because it's there, and Star Wars has it. I just wish they'd be willing to do it. So.
And I wonder if, because Kenobi went into production, or at least the writing aspect of it, like 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And in the past year, Dave Filoni's been promoted to creative executive. Will his influence going forward bring more of that stuff to the surface? You know what I'm saying? So we may not have seen that yet, other than what he's working on directly.
Right. And we may get because Andor certainly looks like it's going to be darker than people think. And Rogue One was dark as hell, in my opinion, in comparison. And so maybe Ahsoka will have that with Thrawn, a little more darkness to it than people necessarily are anticipating. Now, he also spoke about the fact that he thought the trilogy didn't happen because of the reception to Solo, both financially, from the fandom, from critics, and whatever. Like you all are on record with the hashtag of make Solo 2 happen. You've done t-shirts, you've promoted. I see you tweet about it all the time whenever there's even a shadow of a window to look through to tweet about something. So, Johnny, talk to me through this. Do you believe Stuart when he says this is the reason this happened? Do you believe that Disney really did put a stop on this, considering the success of Rogue One, considering how well, financially at least, their sequel trilogy was doing? Do you really think it was Solo that stopped this Kenobi movie from happening, or is this a little bit of sour grapes from Stuart Beattie as the writer?
I don't know. That's interesting, because I know it was. We all thought it was a little strange that Ewan McGregor was at the premiere for Solo,
right?
And he sat next to Ray Park, which is also interesting. And who knows what's going on with that guy? I hope he's found help. But so, and there was rumors about this Kenobi movie and stuff like that, and the reports were that they were going to announce it after Solo was big box office or whatever. And we don't need to go through the threads of what happened with Solo. It was marketed like crap. It was like Denny's and nothing else, and they put it out right after TLJ, which was divisive. It sandwiched it in between Infinity War and Deadpool, and you go down the list. Bob Iger even said, like, we probably should have pushed it to December. We didn't market it right, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I do think it's possible that that's the case, because look, this guy clearly wrote a screenplay for a movie, so that existed, and he had a trilogy planned out. There was something truly there for a Kenobi movie, and who knows how far along the process they were with Disney Plus becoming a reality. So I do think it's probably true that that's the case, because I think not so far after, maybe even less than a year after Solo, Bob Iger said we're taking a step back. And reevaluating, because originally it was a Star Wars movie every year. Every year we're going to have a Star Wars movie, and then Solo comes out, only makes 400, and then they go through all that. So I think as much as I love Solo, it did not perform the way it should have. To me, it's not the movie's fault, but I think there is a reality to that, because business is business, and that's unfortunately what happens sometimes.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think and maybe that's what Stuart was told at the time. It may not have been the full story, but maybe that's what he was told at the time, and certainly that's what seemed like, as you said, was released in the press from Iger and other people saying, "Well, we're going to take a step back, and then we're going to figure it out." Of course, we still got Rise of Skywalker, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and now they're really taking a big step back, which we'll get to in just a couple minutes, but. this idea here, I wonder if this is just what they told Stuart, and maybe this is what, and then maybe there's some elements of truth to it. But in the end, it just didn't work out. But I mean, franchises suffer bad movies all the time and bounce back and kind of reassess things, but still keep making them. So I found this to be an odd situation overall. But I like that he's proud of the story. Do you think we'll ever get a leaked copy of that script, of his first Obi-Wan Kenobi script? I mean, I would love to see that.
I know. So isn't the story about Trevorrow like the belief that he leaked his own script?
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So if that guy did a Skywalker saga leak, I wouldn't be shocked if this surfaced at some point.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think we'll ever see like George Lucas's scripts for his sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
I would love to, but
Underworld, all the scripts for Underworld as well.
Yes. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Which I felt like parts of Kenobi, like the Dayu, like Blade Runner stuff, was inspired by a lot of that footage we saw from that 1313 Underworld stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm always down to learning the history of things that happened in Star Wars and also things that almost happened, things that didn't happen. Right. I like watching audition tapes of Kurt Russell trying to go for Han Solo. Like I love that. Dude, I love that stuff, man. So I hope so, because I think a part of the history, if you want to fully understand the history of your favorite franchise, you also have to explore the stuff that didn't happen as well.
Good point. Yeah, exactly. And I always wonder why people don't want to show things warts and all, because we all have warts and all. And so it makes us appreciate it even more that it even got done, that it even that it even got done so well or close to well, and people enjoyed it. So there's almost a sense of satisfaction in seeing that, hey, we all have stumbles and obstacles and challenges, but accomplishing the goal is the important thing. And the fact that we're able to get it done, I think there's something to learn from that. But I don't teach a brand saving course, so I don't know what that. Well, let's move on to the movies. As I just mentioned here, we're going to move on to this subject here. Taika Waititi was, he's doing the promotion for Thor: Love and Thunder, and he's the director of that film. And he was talking, and of course, there have been conversations, or there have been releases here that he was going to do the next Star Wars film. I think Kathleen Kennedy said at Star Wars Celebration that his film is the next film on tap after they pushed back Rogue Squadron. But now he was being interviewed by the New York Times. He delivered this very, very interesting quote about his Star Wars film. And he said, quote, "I'm trying to write the Star Wars idea at the moment, not even script the idea. I've got to see how that goes, because once I submit it, that might determine when it gets made or if it gets made even." So this has set people ablaze because it was supposed to be in 2023, this movie, and we're already in July of 2022, or right around the corner from it.
Yeah.
So there's no way they're doing a film in a year and a half. So you tell me, Johnny, what does this mean? Is he saying like, is this Taika saying, well, maybe there is too much on my plate? Is he kind of opening the door? Is he putting pressure on Star Wars? What does this mean, man?
Yeah, there's so much to this, because anytime I see a recent interview with someone who's making a Star Wars movie, I look for the most recent interview with Kathleen Kennedy to like check what she said against what that person said. Because in her recent interview with Bresnikan, she alluded to the Kevin Feige movie as the latest in the rumor mill.
That's right.
But at the same time, you have Michael Waldron, who's writing the Kevin Feige movie, going around saying he's like in first drafts.
Yeah.
So like, it's not a rumor. So why is the president of the studio saying that? Like, there's a disconnect with PR that they gotta. I shouldn't say that, but there's something they got to figure out in terms of what the real deal is and what you want to release to the public. But with that said, with Taika, like for years, like Lacey on her podcast, she's like, I would love Taika to make a Star Wars movie. I think he would like make it fun and bring back necessary humor in certain spots. And I liked what he said about Star Wars in the Mandalorian gallery. He said it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it knows when it needs to, or something like that. And he sort of understands the balance there. And I know not everybody loves his Thor stuff, but yeah. And I liked Ragnarok. Yeah. So I'm excited to see the new one, but I wish I could hear how he answered this.
The inflection.
Yes, right. Because isn't he very tongue in cheek a lot and
Yeah, he can be.
self-deprecating?
Yeah, right. This is why
So he
people
may
are
have been like,
parsing out this quote. Yeah.
who knows if it'll ever get made? You know, like you know. So I think it'll still get made. It's definitely not going to happen for the 2023 release, which was supposed to be, like as you said, Rogue Squadron was supposed to be that movie. So
right.
that gets pushed aside. Who knows if that happens at this point? So I think it still gets made. But the other thing that Kathleen Kennedy said to Bresnikan was that she's looking for someone to be the shepherd of the movie side of things for a long-term commitment. She wants someone in the driver's seat, sort of like being a Feige sort of person for the next 10, 15 years. And she hasn't found that yet. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, she had to have at least asked Favreau if he was interested. Because
probably, yeah.
The success of The Mandalorian, all the movies he makes are pretty well beloved and at least make a ton of money.
Yeah.
So he may not have been interested and said, I just want to still play my sandbox with The Mandalorian stuff so I can do my other movies outside of that. So I think they are still looking for someone to be the future of the movies, and whether they bring back, you know, Daisy Ridley and stuff later, who knows? I still think this Taika movie is happening because I think I know you like the new Thor. I heard some people say meh about it. We'll see how that gets received, but I think mostly he's a very likable filmmaker. He's unflappable, so he won't be bothered by fans like getting mad at him. He'll probably like have a ball with that and make them all look silly if he needed to. So I still think the movie's happening. I just think maybe they're like, you know, no rush, you know, whatever the story may be, we don't need to. This isn't like the Skywalker saga where it must hit this date, JJ. You have to get this movie out.
Exactly.
And then they have the lifeboat, which is Disney Plus right now. So it's not like it's just all movies or nothing. They have other content coming. So I still think it's happening. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he said, I'm quote, I am, if it doesn't happen, he said, I'm cool as well to take 6 months off and just go hang out with my kids. So, I mean, it's like, dude, do you understand? I mean, you can be, I feel like you can be nonchalant or funny or toss stuff off with any other franchise except for Star Wars. I mean, I think that's the one franchise people are like, what are you talking about? Because people are so serious about this franchise. Man. There's no Game of Thrones celebration in Europe. There's a Star Wars celebration in Europe. There's a reason. And I think Taika maybe, you know, sends tongues wagging. And certainly we're talking about it here on the show because he seems so casual about it that it might not get made. If it does get made, great. If it doesn't, whatever. And people are like, no. But I want to ask you something. Where do you think Star Wars would be right now without Disney Plus? It just occurred to me as you were talking, because you mentioned that, like, where would they be right now without Disney Plus? Do you think they'd have gone on this hiatus for as many years as they've gone since Rise of Skywalker? Do you think, and there seems to be nothing on the horizon for the next 2 to 3 years at least, do you think they'd have done that if they didn't have Disney Plus? Or do you think they would have just tried to put something in the pipeline and get it done?
That's such a good question, because, you know, there was always that feeling of like just a special event feeling when Star Wars would come back.
Yeah.
You know, when they announced the new trilogy, everyone just got so excited. And the first time they heard, they saw a picture of the Falcon being rebuilt, like the first trailer, Chewie, we're home, all that stuff. There's a magical Christmas morning feeling to Star Wars that doesn't exist anymore because we're getting a lot of Star Wars, and I'm cool with that. I'm willing to make that trade. I have a feeling that if there was no Disney Plus, and it's a different timeline, and they're like, we need to find out what movies to make, I don't think they would leap right in and say, well, we're going to do more with Rey and this and that. That needs to breathe a bit. We need this 5 and 7-year-olds who saw The Force Awakens to be 20 and 25, so that they're the voices like the prequel kids are now, who are like, no, you guys are idiots. Those movies are great. Those are our movies. We will not stand for any slander of our movies.
How dare you? Yeah, exactly.
So the sequel trilogy is going to age well because of a generational growth.
Okay.
They're probably waiting for that. So we're going to see Daisy Ridley, but when she's in her mid to late 30s again, they'll bring her back.
She's totally
and we'll see if the other guys come back. I have a feeling time will heal wounds, and we'll see them come back. Kelly Marie Tran is still doing voice stuff for the Lego stuff they're doing,
right?
So she'll be back, I think. So that they have that safety net, and by safety net I mean You can still bring back Chewie, R2, C-3PO, the Falcon, get the nostalgia in. Those will always be there if they need it. I think what they're struggling with now, which I think my answer would be, is there just have been a lull in Star Wars for a little while. They're struggling to find their Feige to sort of establish a new era, and whether that's let's go to the Old Republic finally and tell stories there, or let's go well beyond Episode 9, so we're not like, well, this character dies here and this character met this person here. Like, writing the Obi-Wan story had to have been such a pain in the ass.
Oh my god, in my Charlie Day with like boards and stuff all over the room.
Dude,
there's no way.
My god, Joby Harold's probably sitting there like, how the hell am I having this guy hang out with Leia for 2 weeks, and then she's gonna be like, General Kenobi, you used to hang out with my dad, like, but they figured it out. So
yeah, they did.
If you give someone the Bob Ross clean canvas 500 years after Episode 9, they can tell any story they want, and that's what they need to do for once.
Well, and not to reference Star Trek, but that's what Discovery did in its 3rd season. They jumped 1,000 years into the future. So to
there you go, man.
Cut the ties to all the canons, and because they were getting overwhelmed by the criticism from the fans about the canon stuff that they were messing with, and so they're like, F it, we're jumping 1,000 years.
Exactly.
We're just getting out of here. So there's possibilities. And certainly I know Laura would love to see High Republic stuff. So there's possibilities.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Acolyte's supposed to be sort of tied to that, right?
Yeah.
So I want to hear more about that.
Certainly. All right. 2 quick questions before we get close to wrapping up here. Rapid fire answers. Why is nothing being done with Rogue Squadron? Do you really think they're waiting on Patty Jenkins to finish or Wonder Woman 3?
I think Rogue Squadron's finished.
Wow. You think it's not going to happen at all?
No.
Shoot. Really? Okay.
That's just a gut. I haven't heard anything.
Hey.
I've heard from friends who talk to people inside the Sacred Walls that they say the movie side of things is in big trouble.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe, and James brought this up, and this is just his opinion. Yeah. Maybe no jokes. Maybe they saw Top Gun Maverick and were like, we're not even close to doing our version of that.
Wow. That's certainly possible. That film, $1 billion.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I like the first Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I thought Monster was good, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But that second Wonder Woman. All right. We'll see.
I know, man. I know. We know people who like that one, but
yeah. We got real emotional watching it for sure. Are we ever seeing that Ryan trilogy? I am on record on numerous Star Wars shows, and maybe even yours, saying that we are never going to see that trilogy.
You said that, that was like 2018. You were saying that.
She said it's on the back burner, which to me means essentially we're going to burn it because it's not going to happen. So, do you really think? Do you think we're ever going to see a Rian Johnson trilogy? Is he too divisive to bring back to Star Wars?
I think they want him back. It seems like anytime people who work at Lucasfilm on the creative side talk about Rian Johnson, they talk about him very glowingly. Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, Kathleen Kennedy, Michelle Rejwan. Actually, not Michelle Rejwan. She's more of a JJ person. She got her job because of JJ. But a lot of those people up there really love Rian Johnson. I think he's an incredible filmmaker.
Right.
I think it would tear fandom apart if he came back. And I don't know if the juice is worth a squeeze. We're still dealing with the ramifications of the Last Jedi.
It's just barely sewing back together thanks to Mandalorian and a little bit of Kenobi. I mean, Baby
like Star
Yoda
Wars fandom.
Baby Yoda went a long way. Yeah.
Baby Yoda did. He was the savior, but the chosen one. But it's like fandom was, pre-December 2017 and post-December 2017, and we're still trying to figure it out. And I still enjoy The Last Jedi. I don't put it on as much because I think the fans have made me stale on it, believe it or not. People who love it and people who hate it.
Yeah.
But I think it's his call. I think he's doing so well. Like, he got nominated for an Oscar for Knives Out.
It's true.
He's making this into his own Agatha Christie legacy sort of thing.
He's getting paid $400 million to do that.
So much money by Netflix. Yeah. And Kathleen Kennedy said something again in that Bresnikan interview, which he does a great job of getting these things out of people.
Yeah, I love it.
Which was Rian Johnson's still in touch with them and still part of a creative brain trust, which I that was such an odd thing. I'm like, if he is, then make your movies. Like, Right? They were officially announced. He was supposed to direct the first one, write all three. They had this whole thing on StarWars.com that came out right before TLJ came out. I think it's his call. I think he's like, guys, I think I'm good. Like, I'll help you out if you guys need help with stuff, but I'm happy. I'm doing my own thing. It's not worth it because he got kind of too into it with fans online, and that got him in trouble.
Yeah.
Whereas like J.J. Abrams, whatever you want to say about that guy, he doesn't go near any of that stuff.
Nope.
He's like, if you didn't like my movie, you're right. Whatever.
Yeah.
But Rian Johnson would like call people names and stuff. It just got messy, man. So my gut is I think he's an incredible filmmaker and a different like reset. And he comes in and people don't hate him. I would love to see him start new Star Wars stories that aren't beholden to the sacredness of Luke Skywalker. I just don't know that it's going to happen because of everything that has happened.
Yeah. That's why I said that in 2018. Look, I there are a lot of things you can criticize about me, but I can read people, and I can read situations, and I sensed that it's too big to bring him back. It's too divisive. This isn't a Hayden Christensen situation. There aren't people who are going to become like massive Rian Johnson lovers and are going to save his. No, it's a completely different situation.
Yeah.
And to me, this is a guy that reminds you of a bad time. We had it was a good friendship and we had a great time together. And I thought it was going to go longer, but then some other things happened and some people come in and it just, the way he behaved, I just don't think it's worth it to bring him around my family anymore. And that's the kind of thing here that you're seeing. And I think that's the thing at the end of the day. And I think you hit it perfectly here. It's not worth the squeeze. The juice is not worth the squeeze.
Right.
Because you are absolutely going to fracture this fandom and bring the old arguments back up all over again. And like Chuck Wendig, he got into it with the fans and they ushered him out of Star Wars. And I think with Ryan right now, him putting that picture up of the Wills and making his little snide comments, that's not what fans needed in that moment. No. And I think in the end, you're right. It just did a little too much damage. But he is a phenomenal filmmaker and is kind of doing his own thing. So I think he's great as an advisor. I don't think I believe we'll never see his trilogy ever.
Yeah. And I think sometimes fans live in the bubble of the social media world where there is a lot of love for TLJ online.
Yes, there is.
Very passionate. But if you talk to casual people at the grocery store or your brother who likes Star Wars or somebody, not a lot of people liked The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And it's just a fact. And it's not like, you're not getting personal or anything. It's just, I talk to people all the time. They're like, yeah, that one, I didn't really like that one that much. And they're not passionate about it. They're just like, oh, that movie? Yeah, I didn't really like that. And that's just, that exists. So if he came back, like Disney doesn't care about the bubble on Twitter. Disney cares about all the consumers.
Yeah.
So if they're getting the pulse of everyone that was a movie that really tore people apart, I just and I don't think Johnson's all that interested, or he would have come back.
Right. And you've got someone like Bob Chapek, who's now just been re-upped at Disney for 3 years. He's a direct-to-consumer guy. He would know from his polls, from his his outsourcing of asking people these things and getting surveys done. What the actual pulse is around Rian Johnson and The Last Jedi and him coming back to do Star Wars for sure. So you make a great point there for sure, Johnny. One last thing. Let's hit these last ones and just real quick. This is what we have coming after now. We can look forward to the Andor series, which that trailer. Oh my God.
Oh, dude.
We'll get all these and then we'll talk real quick. The Bad Batch season 2, Tales of the Jedi, which was a great presentation. The season 3 of Mandalorian, Ahsoka series, Skeleton Crew with Jude Law, The Acolyte, and possibly Lando. So quick thoughts on all these series coming. You don't have to go one by one, but just what stands out or what you want to say about them, if you want to say anything.
I really believe in Tony Gilroy. He came in, saved Rogue One. For some reason, like Rogue One trends every day, and people don't realize that movie went through just as much chaos as Solo did, maybe a little less, of course.
You're right.
He was my takeaway from Celebration. How confident he was, how candid he was, the conviction in his voice. I think he's going to give us something that's brilliant. Also, they shot that on location a lot, so it's not going to feel volumey. I think that's going to be great. Yeah. Ahsoka, I'm excited to see what they do because it's Filoni's baby. We'll see how they handle that. Acolyte, I'm dying to see more because I loved Russian Doll. I think Leslie Headland is one of the smartest people I've seen in interviews. And I think she's a great writer. I'm very curious to what she dials up. And Lando, again, going back to Kathleen Kennedy saying they're waiting on Donald Glover's availability. They want it. So my pitch is convert it to a full Solo series sequel. Get Lando in there when you can, but bring in Kira, bring in Maul, bring in Enfys Nest, do Han and Chewie working for Jabba. You can get Boba Fett in there, and let's make it a whole thing. And it's perfect for Disney Plus. Let's do a Solo follow-up with Lando when Glover's available to do it.
Yeah, and it isn't like he hasn't conquered the streaming airwaves or the TV airwaves with Atlanta. So certainly people know him in that medium, and so would be even more interested to see what he would do with an extended amount of time with a series like that, because he'd be involved, either writing or executive producing in some way. There's no way at this point that you don't have him at that level if you're going to bring him back.
Absolutely.
And be one of the first Black showrunners or Black executive producers for a Star Wars series, which I think would be a positive for the franchise overall as well. Andor's the one I'm looking forward to. And I composed this tweet the other day, and I almost put it out. I haven't put it out yet because all the stuff that broke this week with the madness
in the drafts.
Yeah, all of that. But I almost tweeted out this that I have not been asked to be on shows to talk about some of these other shows like Solo. Oh, that's not Solo. I'm sorry, Kenobi. The diversity in Kenobi, all of that. I've been asked. So I always put it out there because I saw a lot of like all white male shows, and I'm just like, come on, guys. If Andor drops and I'm not asked to be on these shows to talk about Andor, which is a migrant story, I'm going to have to shake some harder trees. That's for sure. So I am looking forward to this one like crazy because exactly like what you said, Tony Gilroy spoke so matter of fact. I bet Kennedy was just like, will you be quiet? And he was just like, oh yeah, this is going to end up and we're going to get the final scene right before Rogue One starts. No
Amazing.
It's going to be 12 episodes per season, 2 seasons. All right, deal with it. Peace, guys. And I loved it. It was so just like, it doesn't have to be this veil of mystery. This is the deal. This is the kind of show it is. And then that trailer backed up every single second and word of his confidence because that trailer looks incredible. And so this is the one that might be the surprise that people didn't know they necessarily were waiting for. And then when they see it, they'll see that there is a whole new bold direction that Star Wars can go in, just like Rogue One did when that film came out. It showed you the possibilities of a bolder direction Star Wars could go in for sure.
And Diego Luna was so good in Rogue One.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'll just invite you right now. Like when we get our show going to react to Andor, why don't you come back on TRB and let's have some fun talking about it. Get your perspective on that from your life's perspective.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely. I wasn't trying to pitch myself. I was just saying, but yes.
Dude, we haven't had you in a while, man. It's been a while.
It's been a bit. It's been a while. And Ahsoka, I mean, Bad Batch, that's my boys. So I definitely am looking forward to seeing more of that and getting more of Omega, that she's older. Certainly all that. Tales of the Jedi, certainly I'm interested in that. I might even watch that Young Jedi one that they also have coming up here in the next few months. But the Ahsoka series is the one that I'm putting I'm circling after Andor because I want to see what we're going to get from this. As you said, Filoni's baby, but also Thrawn, also Ezra, also Sabine, all these things that are going to be involved in here. This is going to really blow a lot of people's minds, I think. And if the 1-2 punch of Andor and Ahsoka brings people back again and finally heals those, as you said, those Rian Johnson wounds, heals them 100%, I think that's when you're going to start to hear comments a little more firmly about movies coming. I think that's when we're going to start to hear that a little more loudly from people at Star Wars with more definitiveness than they have been in the past. So those are the things that I'm very much looking forward to. And I like your idea for Lando. That's a great idea. I would love to
thanks. I know you're not the biggest Solo fan, but I think in a series it might be fun to check in with those characters and pop around.
Laura's brought me around on Solo, so
all right.
Laura's worked on me for a little bit on Solo. No one's going to talk me into Rise of Skywalker, but Solo, I do enjoy stretches of Solo, and I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Solo, 100%. So, all right, well there you go. Let's wrap it up there because I know we've gone over an hour. I didn't think it was going to go this long, but we had a lot to talk about because there's a lot coming here in Star Wars after Kenobi. John, thanks so much for taking the time, brother. It's always great to see you, my man. Please let people know where they can find your work, where they can find the Resistance Broadcast System and Star Wars News Net and all of that, please.
Yeah, so me, if for social media, I usually do Twitter, so at Johnny Hoey. Usually talking Star Wars and sports, kind of like you, John.
Yankees. Yeah.
Go Yankees, baby. StarWarsNewsNet.com. I do writing, and I'm the lead editor over there. Fan-run news site. We try to do the best we can, to be honest, about Star Wars news. And TRB, yeah, the Resistance broadcast. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/Star Wars Newsnet videos, and any audio podcast app. We put out 2 episodes every week, typically Mondays and Thursdays. Unless there is a streaming show happening, then we'll go live Wednesday nights. But yeah, it's me, James, and Lacey over there holding it down, having a good time talking Star Wars, which is not a bad thing. And then I also have a movie podcast, which is a nostalgic movie podcast that me and my friends started during the pandemic just to reconnect, called Just Like the Movies. And we just did an episode on Jaws. It's a nice palate cleanser to talk about things besides Star Wars. I know you do that too,
Yes,
John.
I do. Yes, I do.
It helps a lot. So that's also available on your audio platforms. It's called Just Like the Movies.
All right, I want in on that one. That one I'll pitch me for myself. Please,
All right, man.
Anytime you guys want to talk about a movie and you think of me, man, I'd love to come on. So
I'll pop you on for a nice Western. How about that?
Yes, done and done. Not even
All
a
right.
question. I'll wear the hat and everything.
All right, man.
As for me, you can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Yes, I do stuff on Twitch. And my other podcasts, definitely the Top 10, the Cinephiles, and the Geek Buddies are all out there for you all to enjoy and consume as well. And don't forget to follow Laura at all her social medias at Shut Up Laura, which is a great handle.
That is very good.
Right? It's brilliant. And for all her stuff. And yes, everybody you see on the screen and Laura Kelly are going to Star Wars Celebration. So there will definitely be some build up to that as we look forward to that happening in London for sure. I can't wait. All right. We love you madly. And, as we end every show with the quote that we get from Star Wars, until next time, remember, your focus determines your reality.